Gary, Ron, and Ron need to log in.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the September 4th board meeting. Roll call will show that everyone is present. And roll call and pledge of allegiance. Jafari, I think I told you you were going to be leading it this time. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it. Go ahead.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jafari. All right. And report on actions out of closed session. There were no actions in closed session. Before we move on to the superintendent's report, a couple of announcements. Next week, September 11th, we will be meeting at Lincoln Tech to have a special board session for the RBET. It's going to be reporting out to us on that. We're very excited about that. They've been doing some great work. We'd love to hear about it. On September 25th, we have scheduled right now a town hall meeting with the Lodi City Council at the Carnegie Forum in Lodi. I believe the time on that is 6 o'clock. Right? Okay. So those are a couple of new things coming up. Dr. Washer, are we going to will be a Brown Act agenda published for that town hall?
Yes, it will.
Okay. Also, we have a, next week also at 5 o'clock, there is a board subcommittee meeting, again at Lincoln Tech, for our committee to decide, to work on the mission, goals, value statements. You're going to put that on Brown Act as well in case any board members want to show up and talk about it, correct?
You have requested that, yes.
Okay, I want to make sure that we're straight on that. Okay, and with that, we'll move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Washer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, you keep going. You were doing my report, so.
Is that it? All right.
A couple other things to add to that. Just want to remind you about the Dancing on Dynamite festivities to support Got Kids, giving opportunities to kids, is having a fundraiser Saturday evening at E2 Winery at 6 o'clock in the evening. It's a country-themed night with live band, line dancing, and all the festivities that go with a country-themed night. So come out and support Got Kids. The proceeds go directly back to students, classrooms, and schools to support programs that schools do not have funds for. So please come and help us support Got Kids. I have a letter to read you. This is from one of our students. In order to keep confidentiality, it is anonymous, and I'm not going to tell you what school it's from, but it is entitled Dear Kitchen Staff. It is the beginning of the new 2018-2019 school year, which means it's a newish start for me and others here at school. I'm a cancer survivor, and that's given me perspective. I want to show pediatric cancer awareness as much as I can, and I want to help and inspire others on a daily basis. I've always thought that if there is a teacher appreciation, there should be other school employee appreciations too. I thought this is a great way to start the school year for you. You work very hard every day to give us good meals. I usually pack a lunch, but if I do buy school lunch, I always appreciate your work. You prep so much food for so many kids that it can be brats at sometimes. I know you do the same amount of work as teachers do to help students during this stressful time in life. You always seem to keep a positive attitude during our crazy lunch periods, and that always surprises me because of how good you are at it. Thank you for everything you do. I hope this brightens your day. Wow.
Very nice.
Very nice.
What a wonderful way to show appreciation from a child. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Washer. All right, it's now time for comments from the public. And I have 5 different cards here, all with a similar theme. A 20-minute time period has been set aside for the public to address the board on items not listed on the agenda. Each public speaker will limit his or her comments to 3 minutes, but is welcome to distribute any materials to the board and/or staff. Due to restrictions imposed by the California Brown Act regarding discussing topics that are not on the agenda, board members may not engage in dialogue about the issue. I hope everyone understands that. Sometimes we'd love to say something, but we can't by law. All right, the first one is it Jessalee?
Yes.
Gordon,
Yeah.
please. And she is here to speak about the Lockford School parking security and overall care of the school. Okay.
Good evening, my name is Jessalee Garing, and I have 2 children that are students at Lockford School. I was formerly a teacher at Lodi High School for 12 years, until about 2 years ago. So I'm fairly familiar with the school district. Tonight I come to you with concerns about our country school. In 2016, Mr. Sun came to one of our PTA meetings as a PTA member. I listened to him, encouraged us to vote and pass the bond and the order that the schools would get the money towards it had not yet been determined, but that Lockford School would be a recipient. So we're on 2 years now, and Lockford School has got 2 security cameras. And that was because there was a fire at the school community, or at our school garden over the summer, because kids were starting up to no good starting fires, and there was so much talk on Facebook that I felt like they had to do something because it was being shared and shared and shared. And then we've seen nothing since. As a parent who fundraises a ton of money for that school and is involved, we need some help, and we want to know what we need to do to get some help. Our kids twist their ankles all the time on those fields. Junior Giants tried to use that field over the summer, and it was embarrassing. And it's something to be embarrassed about because we shouldn't not take pride in our schools, regardless if they're in the country, out of sight, out of mind. It's disheartening to know that our students are not, or our children are not getting what they deserve, what I see all the other schools getting. So it is hard for me to sit well with that. But we are active, and we are here because we want to be proactive. We want to improve that school. I went to that school when I was a young girl. I grew up in that school. It's still the same paper towel dispensers. It's still a lot of the same window, like everything. I cherish that. I think it's wonderful to preserve that, but I also think it's time for upgrades. In addition to the safety cameras, we really need to work on the parking. It's dangerous. Someone will get hit, especially with farming and agriculture in that area. It's congested. And as a teacher, it scares me. When I pick my kids up and I'm driving, I mean, it's so congested that it keeps congesting because people are afraid to drive. They're afraid to hit a kid. And there's property that I know has been talked about, and so we are here asking for that to be followed through, because with future construction happening in Lockford, it's only going to get worse. So we really encourage you guys to take into consideration the parking lot issue, the security issue, and the overall management of the school. Because going back to school and not seeing your school landscaped and in your pictures is disheartening to us as well. I thank you for your time, and we are here to be part of the solution. So please reach out to Mr. Rogers and the PTA, and we're more than welcome to help. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Amy Bragg. Thank you for having a short name like Amy. That makes my life so much easier.
All right. My name's Amy Blagg, and like Jesselie, I'm gonna, I guess, echo many of the things that she touched on. I also have 2 children at Lockford School. My oldest son is in 4th grade, and since he started at Lockford School, we've been talking with county supervisors, with Ken Vogel, with Chuck Wynn, with the principals at the school to try to get this parking situation figured out. A couple years ago, we were shown or talked about what was going to happen, and we haven't seen that. And the parking at that school just does not hold the amount of students that are there today. And I think it is unique because it's an agricultural area. My dad farms the property, the vineyard, directly across the road from the school. And they do no cultural activities. They try to have no crews in those fields during the week. And they are completely hampered because their vineyard is full of the cars, full of the parents parking there because there's no other option. And their grandkids are at the school there, so they don't want to impede the school, but they also know that there's probably a lot of liability there as well when you have a whole bunch of cars parked in the vineyard. Just being an agricultural area, the streets, there's no sidewalks, there's no crosswalks, and we understand there's limitations there, but there needs to be something for kids to be able to walk to those neighborhoods safely. Like Jesselie mentioned, it's terrifying to drive there, especially at pickup time. Just the general upkeep of the school. My son did play junior giants this summer. I just threw away a picnic blanket because there were so many foxtails because the grass isn't watered, it's weeds, and that's all it is. And so much like Jesselie said, we're here to be part of the solution. We have the support, but that school has a lot of opportunity, and we just want to see it kept up to that potential.
Thank you, Amy. Tanya Gordon, same thing.
Hi, my name is Tanya Gehring, and I also am here over the Lockford School parking lot issue. I also have 2 children that go to that school, and I pick up every day, and it is a mess. If I go through the pickup line where you are supposed to just drive through, if I'm not there 30 to 45 minutes or at least sitting, then it's going to be at least 30 to 30 minutes for me to get my kids in the pickup line. There's cars parked all up and down in these great vineyards. And so when you go to pull out of the parking lot, you can't see anything, literally at all. And the problem is we have parents parking there and then having to walk their kids across the street to get them back to the car. And it being someone who has walked sometimes up to 6 kids at a time across that street, it's terrifying. And you have those people that have no respect for the fact that there is a school there barreling through. And then, of course, you have the people that are considerate. But, you can't guarantee that they're going to stop. And there's no crosswalks. There's nobody there, with a stop sign on that end of the school saying, hey, we got kids that have to cross, because it's no parking zones. Literally, it's listed not to park there, but we have no other option because our parking lot is so small. We've heard for 2 solid years a plan for parking. One, we've even been told, over the summer they're going to make the parking lot in the back. We've been told so many things, yet continually we come, and now we have our school's growing, which is great for our community, but unfortunately we can't hold that capacity in our parking lots, and it's getting more and more dangerous every year, more and more time consuming for parents every year. And like they said before, some of the paper towel dispensers are from a long time ago. So we just we're here, we're doing fundraising, but we need the help from the district as well, because you can only fundraise so much. And without your guys' help, we can't build a parking lot. There's parents out there that would if they could, but we don't have those resources. So, if there's anything we can do, let us know, and thank you for listening to us tonight.
Thank you, Tanya. Heather.
Good evening, my name is Heather Artiaga, and I have 1 daughter at Lockford Elementary. Unlike the other moms, I do pick up in the back because of the front area of the school is so congested, and I don't want to be in an accident. So 3 years ago, I started picking up my daughter in the back where this parking lot is supposed to go, yet we haven't seen any construction. I made a phone call on January 10th to the district office and spoke with Steve Moore, and he told me that everything was being held up at San Joaquin County. So I made a email and phone call to Denise Warmerdam, and she was unaware of the problem. So I'm not sure if we're just being told that it's somebody else's fault because nobody wants to take the blame. Also on that, I talked to San Joaquin County because when it rains, the kids cannot even walk down the walkway that's there because it's so flooded. And basically, San Joaquin County told me, the Public Works Department, was that the grading of the drainage ditch is higher than the land level, so they cannot do anything. Well, I believe that they can, it's just a matter of money. So not only do we not have enough parking for kids, now they're walking down a walkway and having to walk into 3 inches of water because it's not even draining. And I think that that's not efficient. So again, I'm with the other parents here to help. Let us know what we need to do, reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to help with anything that we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Jamie Bender?
Good evening, my name is Jamie Bender, and I'm here to voice my concerns about the lack of parking, or should I say ditto to everything they said. I have 2 children at Lockford School, and I typically take home 4 kids every day. So you could see why I wouldn't want to cross the street with 4 children who would be running away from me. So I park in the back of the school, and I pick the kids up at the community center. Typically it's fine for me, but when it rains and they have to walk down a pathway that's full of potholes that are flooded and my kids get in the car soaking wet, also it would be convenient to pick them up closer to the school. Also, I am here to talk about the hydration stations. We have been told that the schools are getting hydration stations installed, and our school has not received one, so the PTA has been fundraising the money to install them ourselves. And I was just hoping that with bringing this up, we could possibly get one installed in our school as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Jamie. I just thank all of you for coming and bringing that to our attention. We appreciate that. Our meetings are really exciting, but if you don't want to stay for that, please feel free to go ahead and take off at this time. You go on sense.
Mr. Blue?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you just tell them if they could wait till board comments? Because I can speak to what they're talking about, but I would have to leave till board comments.
Well, you can speak right now. You can do your comments now if you'd like. If you can do, yeah, we can change it. The agenda is that sheet.
You can, Ms. Castle, you can comment. You cannot have a dialogue based on, but you can make a statement.
You can do your comments now.
You can do your comments now.
All right, so these are my comments only. And I want to thank you for coming and voicing your concerns. I've been following the parking lot saga. Well, Mr. Khan is a great resource as well, and he's probably. Can you just give me a second, Leonard, and because I know you have the latest up-to-date information. Are you all aware that? I know I'm not asking you a question. I'll make this as a comment. There is a giant mud puddle that is, yes, on the. You know what I'm talking about. There is a giant mud puddle, and there has been. This has become a saga, that is for sure, because between the county and the school district, they had to sort out who owned the mud puddle, and then that determination would lead to whoever owned it would then take it upon themselves to correct that giant mud puddle, which certainly needed to be done. But it was a matter of who owned the title to it, and so that was where the county came in, and Mr. Khan could be much more specific, I know. The money is funded, the plan is done, and it's a matter of working that out, and I'm glad Mr. Khan can address that. But it has been a saga, that is for sure, but the plan that is all laid out is a very good plan. It's been studied extensively, and it should not totally, but about 90% mitigate what's going on there with that terrible congestion and the danger, which is very real. It's a thoughtful plan, it's been studied and analyzed, and it once we can put it into place, it will take care of all of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Getz. Okay, moving right along. Consent agenda A. Are there any items that board members would like pulled from consent agenda A? Okay, seeing none. Are there any items that public would like pulled from consent agenda A?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve routine agenda A.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Nava. Thank you, Mr. Connexted. All right, Jabari, what's your vote on it? Aye. Thank you, sir. So you put a lot of thought and work into that. That's great. All right, calling on the board vote. Item passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Okay, other action items. Item OAI-1, ratification of mediator's proposed agreement with the California School Employees Association for impacts and effects of AB 670. Mr. McKilligan.
Mr. Neely, this is the approved agreement by CSEA. They have ratified it, and so now it's before you.
Thank you, sir. Can you get a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve.
Second. Thank you, Mr. Nava. Thank you, Dr. Talkin. Okay, any comment or questions by the board? Comments or questions from the public? Jafari? Thank you, sir. Well done. All right, calling on the board vote. Item passes 7-0. Item OAI, before we move on, I gotta tell you, thank you guys very much for all the work that you put in on that. Everybody that worked on that resolution and getting that done, we greatly appreciate it. Item OAI-2, resolution 2018-56, authorization to file a career technical education facilities grant application. Mr. Khan.
Thank you, President Neely, members of the board, Dr. Washer. I brought a ringer here to help discuss it if you'd like to hear from them, but this is a resolution that will authorize district staff to merely file an application. We are still working with both architect, Bear Creek High School, and Ms. Jansen, who is running the CTE or CTIC money that will help fund part of this. The grant is a 50-50 match. District puts up 50%. The CTE technical, career technical education facilities grant would supply the other 50%. So architect has been retained, and they're currently working on a master plan. And then with that, they've already met with the staff involved, and they will bring back the master for further discussions. October 19th is the application deadline.
Yes.
So we've got miles to go before we sleep, and not a lot of time to get there. But
All right. Can I get a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve resolution 2018-56.
Second. Thank you, Ms. Nava. Thank you, Dr. Talkin. Any questions about the application from the board?
yes.
Sir.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. There are very good people. Okay, wonderful. Could you tell us what, come on.
Not sure if I can answer it, but.
Sure. I would like the collective goodwill of everybody in this room and many other people to send positive vibrations your way so that we have I'm hoping that this will happen for us, but could you just tell the board specifically what it would build or do for the CTE program, the ag program?
Sure. Through Proposition 51, it is a $500 million grant that will be used to either modernize or construct new construction at a high school site. So we have chosen to build an ag department basically for Bear Creek High School. So our plan is to build 2 classrooms for the ag department. We're going to put an animal shelter there, as well as a greenhouse and a poultry shelter.
I was hoping, because we had heard stories about the chickens and so forth, so that is wonderful news. And then, Mr. Khan, could I ask you, I know these, do you know ahead of time if this is highly competitive, as they often are?
Yes, it is. Highly competitive.
And I'm hoping, again, that we're in a highly advantageous position. Yes?
Yes.
That's terrific.
We are because our ag departments are very strong in this district, one of the strongest. So, and we're hoping and crossing our fingers.
And there is a real need for that.
There is a real need for an ag department at Bear Creek, yes.
Yes.
So we will do our very best with the application.
And we're with you on that, so we'll send our good thoughts your way, and please, I'm sure we'll know when you know the results.
Yes.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
A few months ago, we had some, I guess it would be Bear Creek Ag boosters here. And they were talking about, lack of facilities. They were talking about water and electricity and those kinds of things. So would this grant then encompass a lot of those problems also and solve them kind of at one time? Not if, but when we get it?
Yes, so the grant will include everything within the plan, within the scope of the plan. So that would include water and electricity.
Excellent. A lot of times when people bring something up, it's really helpful for them, even if they know that we are filing an application for your ag department. And so I would encourage you to maybe communicate with the parents of that, of the school, and thank you, Hillary, I appreciate it. Because, you don't want people to feel like they just come up here and they're talking to the wind. There's a sequence of events, and unfortunately there's a lot of time delays in these things, but I think that communication is really valuable and helpful to let them know that, yeah, we hear you, we're trying to do something.
It is helpful, and it's actually required of the grant to have parent participation, to have local business participation. So the teachers and I have already spoken. The teachers have done a wonderful job in constructing a beautiful letter to all of the parents in the ag department, and we're going to send that out to everyone and continuously have meetings throughout the application process to involve everyone.
Great, love to hear that. Thank you so much for your work.
You're very welcome.
Thanks, Hillary.
This is probably a silly question, I suppose, but Bear Creek High School is in the middle of a residential area. And
Yes,
chickens roosters, I know, can make a lot of noise every day. Has that been taken into consideration?
Yes, we discussed that in one of our meetings, and trying to offset the animals, so a little bit farther away from the residential area, from the backyards. But there's a little give and take here, the parents really want to have an ag department there, and in order to do that, we have to have live animals.
Right.
So maybe Mr. Khan can.
The facility as at least envisioned right now is set off from the housing area by at least 50 yards. I don't know that we can capture much more than that, but I think at any point on that, we're lucky. Miss Harrell and her staff were very generous in terms of what pieces of the property we could use. Their choice, along with Mr. Joe Patty's, work on the design, came up with, I think, probably the best solution for all. But as you said, there's still houses 50 yards away from it.
I would be shocked if you hadn't thought about all this, but I would also be shocked if there wasn't at least one geezer out there be upset about something, so.
There's always keys.
Yeah. Not me. Thank you.
Is there a greenhouse also involved?
Yes, yes. Greenhouse is
You
part
know,
of,
there's a lot you can do with that too. They can, you know, do plant sales, plant propagation, all that kind of stuff.
and a vineyard too. We're a very small one.
Good, good.
Mhm. Yes, some students will learn about that as well.
Just for clarity, there's actually two pots of money at work here. One is Ms. Jansen's CTIG funds, which will fund the animal buildings, the greenhouse. The grant, the resolution for the grant before you is only focused on the classroom building.
And where's the other 50% come from?
Measure out.
What's that?
Measure out.
Measure out. Okay, great. Cool. Any other questions?
Good luck.
Thank you.
Keep
No,
us posted.
thank you for being proactive on this. This is really a great thing that you're doing. And hopefully, like I said, I'm for 100%. Hopefully we get that.
Thank you. I do too.
Well said, Mr. Nava. Any questions from the public? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, Jafari, what do you think?
Definitely aye.
Okay. All right. And we'll be calling on the board vote. Measure passes 7-0. Item OAI3, approval of superintendent's contract for 1-year extension. During a conversation came with the superintendent, came to my attention that we had not brought her contract up for renewal as we do every year. I was so proud of us for getting all the other stuff done on time, ahead of time. We forgot to close this out and do the final step. So item OAI3 is an extension of the superintendent's contract for 1 year. Questions or comments from the board? Oh, I'm sorry. I need a motion.
Mr. President, I move approval of this item.
Thank you, Dr. Tom. Thank you, Mr. Knopf. You guys reversed the roles on
They
us.
were.
Very good.
He's quick.
You guys are flexible.
He's
I like
quick.
it. Okay, any questions or discussion from the board? Questions or discussion from the public? Okay. All right, very good. We got the sign line, we got this thing now, you know? We have a connection, I like that. All right, calling for the board vote. Item passes 7-0. Item OAI4, Chief Business Officer Contract, corrected regarding sick leave allocation. Dr. Washer.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. This is a technical correction to the contract having to do with the amount of sick leave. We need to keep it in line with board policy, and that's what this does.
Mr. President,
Sir?
I would move approval of this item.
Thank you, Dr. Stalker.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Nava. Any questions or comments from the board? Questions or comments from the public? Thank you, sir. Calling on the board vote. Item passes 7-0. Communications, comments from student representatives.
Personnel matters.
Oh, personnel matters, I'm sorry, thank you. Personnel matters, Mr. McKilligan.
Mr. President, routine personnel matters are presented for your consideration.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve personnel matters.
Thank you, Mr.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Dawkins. You guys wait down there?
Yeah. Mike tried to jump in.
You gotta turn it up a little bit.
All right. Questions, comments from the board? Questions, comments from the public? All right. You don't vote on this one. You knew that, didn't you? Yes, sir. All right. All right, calling on the board vote. Item passes 7-0. Now, communications, Mr. Thunder, you are up.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Neely, members of the board, Dr. Washer. So this it's been a pretty good month of school. First and foremost, Link Crew has just hosted their freshman field day. It's where the freshmen are given really interactive activities, somewhat of like a continuation of like the first day extravaganza, something like that, just to kind of break the ice for freshmen and get more involved in Bear Creek. Link Crew spearheaded this event, and this is where they just they gave activities and games, mainly fun games for the freshmen, and the freshmen really reacted positively to this. They had a lot of fun. They were even given, every freshman was given a Bruin Way T-shirt in their class color. So you can imagine in the homecoming rally that everybody was decked out in their class color. And so we have, for Bear Creek, this is our homecoming week. Friday was the first day of our Spirit Week because yesterday was a holiday, Labor Day. So our first day of Spirit Week was Neon Class Color Day. And it was also the day of our homecoming rally, where the homecoming court was honored, and everyone was, every couple did their dance in the rally, and then at the end they all did their group dance, and it was really exciting, really fun to watch and be a part of. So basically, the Spirit Week this week is Black and White Film Day. Today was Black and White Film Day. Tomorrow for Wednesday is Bikers versus Surfers. For Thursday it's Carnival. It's Carnival Day. And Friday is Pink Flamingo Friday. You can you can understand how exciting that would be. And so so Friday's homecoming game as well. Bear Creek football team will be playing Kennedy from Sacramento. And so, then speaking of football, might as well add that. The football team is fundraising. Every year, every sport has to fundraise. And it's not necessarily a concern, but it's been a want that the past football team, the past varsity football team of Bear Creek has been wanting a pink jersey for October. Okay, and so it's we've accomplished that dream this year. Okay, but in order to actually, I would say, make that dream come more fulfillment, we have to sell these coupon cards. I'm sure if you're not familiar with these, I actually brought some today.
Just happen to have some to sell.
Honestly, I do have some to sell. That makes it a lot easier.
I'm proud of you, man. That's good.
These coupon cards, they're sponsored by Bear Creek, the football team. And honestly, I was astonished at first because I thought that they were just restricted to these locations. But I've been told that they're not restricted at all. They're what's the word? They're able to be used at different locations all over. They're flexible. They can be used in different locations other than the addresses and locations applied on this card. But that is a concern that I know that the football coach camp is having, that these aren't being sold enough, and so I wanted to make it what's the word? Not me. I don't know. I don't want to make it clear, but I wanted to make it like a point to bring this up, and hopefully, if any of you guys are interested, you could come talk to me.
How much are they?
They're $20. They're $20, but honestly, it's sounds expensive because it is. I'm not gonna lie. It's expensive. But it comes with a lot of good stuff, and these cards are don't expire until July 1st of next year, and you can use them every day, once a day, every day for each store or business on this coupon card. All right, thank you, Mr. David. I appreciate that. What was it? It was on Thursday. The leadership programs got together and we held Broadway presentations. It involved student activities, student government, link crew, and conflict mediation. Basically, it's just we went to every class and we presented to every class. Basically, just the Broadway. We introduced the Broadway to them, just in case that they didn't realize or really didn't know about the Broadway, what it stood for. And so every leadership program played a part in that, and we presented our Broadway with our. I wish I would have brought on, but with our merchandise, our Broadway merchandise, we have a lot of variety of that, with the fanny pack and the sunglasses. We have ear warmers, we have beanies. We're actually doing a lot this year with the Broadway, and we actually think about one.
People can travel and sail.
We actually have this. We are giving away these Braun bucks. Well, we aren't, but the teachers, the staff are giving away these Braun bucks whenever they see a student following the Braun way. And yeah, these Braun bucks can be redeemed during lunch in the student union. And using this Braun buck, they can get the merchandise that we've been trying to sell and trying to fundraise and stuff like that. And so we had, first tailgate of the season for football season. Link Crew hosted that as well. It was for our first football game on what was it? I'm actually forgetting now. Was it August 17th? August 17th, we had our first football game, and that's what we had our tailgate. Really, it was actually a really big success. A lot of people came, participated in the games, painted their faces and everything, and a lot of people showed up for the first game and supported the football team in that sense as well. And upcoming events, we have Powder Puff coming up in a couple months. It's in a couple months, so it's not really prominent now, but it's coming up pretty fast, and it's a lot of the juniors and seniors have already started getting their teams together and practicing for that. For those who don't know what the Powder Puff is, it's where the juniors and seniors females, it's where they're basically football with the roles reversed. It's flag football essentially, with the females playing and then the guys cheerleading. So it's a good experience, I feel like, for our classes to just to, I don't know, release some strength and steam and all that. It's, and that, I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conner. Appreciate it.
Through the chair, sir.
Sir.
All right, who'd you play Friday?
This Friday we played East Union.
Last Friday.
Yeah, East Union. We played East Union.
And you beat East Union by?
36-34.
Okay, you were a key player on that game because you intercepted that pass.
Yes, sir.
And you didn't run it all the way, but you took the ball in a turnover, right?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Congratulations to you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much, Mr. Knob. Okay, comments from employee group representatives. Seeing that way. Welcome, Mr. Harvey. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see all of you. Kyle Harvey with California School Employees Association. And I wanted to talk a little bit about something we heard about earlier, country schools, and some of the issues that are out there that I've been out looking at the request of some of our members in the bargaining unit. One of the issues is around Henderson and the mental health facility out there, special ed, child welfare and attendance. Currently, we do not have a well out there. We don't have fresh water available for the students and staff, and that is a real problem. We understand that it would cost a lot of money to address this, but to us, it's a real health and safety issue that we must address very soon. We met with the executive board today, and they instructed me to file a Williams Act complaint regarding that on behalf of the California School Employees Association. So that will be forthcoming. The other issue that I'd like to talk about is Victor Elementary. We did recently have a water leak out there that caused some damage in the front office. And this resulted in some employees suffering some allergies and some conditions due to mold exposure. This has happened in the past out there. I will say the district facilities went out there right away and really did what they could to mitigate that, and we really appreciate that. However, one of our members is still experiencing symptoms out there, and we'd like to discuss at some point some further mitigation regarding cleaning the air ducts at that school. Also, while I was there, and I know you're going to meet to talk about your goals and future policies, one of the issues that I think we would like to request you look at is the farming operations that go around these schools. One staff member at Victor reported to me that they called the county, the air pollution folks, because there was spraying that was being done when students were on campus and the school was open, and that this spraying drifted over the school. The staff member made a complaint to the Air Pollution Control Board in the county, and subsequently the farmer that was involved with this decided to come to the site and complain directly to that person. Unfortunately, the day that they came on board over, the principal wasn't present. So there are issues with these chemicals that are being used. Obviously, the well water out at Henderson is a result of the contamination, a result from byproducts of pesticides that are used in agriculture. And having our schools out in the country with these kinds of chemicals being sprayed, I believe that we would like to see that letters go out to all those property owners reminding them of their obligations to not use pesticides out there. There's also right now a big effort by the state of California regarding other pesticides that are being sprayed. They want to classify them as not being used in California due to their carcinogenic problems. Also, I don't know if you saw it on a recent 60 Minutes, but some of these chemicals can cause developmental disabilities in young students. And we need to look at that and really take a close look at what's being sprayed out there, how that might affect our students and staff, and make sure that they're doing the right things that need to be done to protect our students. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Harvey, what was that, the location of that last one that you were just talking about, the pesticides?
That was Victor.
It was Victor also?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. for
So,
your-
Welcome. Thank you.
Was, hang on.
Okay.
So, the farmer that came over approached who? His principal was
A
there.
staff member.
Secretary?
Yes.
Okay. And was it, usually secretaries can take care of themselves, but was there a problem other than, what, was there an additional problem with it? Was there a threat being made or?
Well, you know, like you said, secretaries can take care of themselves, and this one is used to being at the school. The principal's shared.
Okay.
So that person is very capable of handling that. But it did trouble me that there, you know, there was any kind of interaction. I didn't go into the details of that with them. But, you know, it would seem to me that, you know, that these farmers should understand that their responsibility is to follow the law. The air pollution control folks told that staff member that it's very hard to enforce these laws because farmers want to get the job done just like any other person in business, and they cannot possibly enforce all the violations. So what I think would be appropriate in this matter is let's inform these farmers. We know who they are around these facilities, that it's not okay to not follow the law when they're spraying chemicals.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Appreciate that very much.
You're welcome.
Hi.
Hi, good evening. My name is Liz Engelbrecht. I'm a speech language pathologist with the district, and I'm here representing LPPA and Mr. John Hunt, who wrote a note to present to you guys. He was very sorry that he has pressing matters to attend to this evening, but he is confident in me to speak on his behalf. I am a member of the executive board for LPPA. I'm the public relations officer. Like I said, I'm also a speech language pathologist for the district, and I was hoping just to explain a little bit about what I do for LPPA and how maybe you'll continue to see me this year. I know I've already met a few at College and Career Night last week. I will be organizing the LPPA presence at events throughout the district. We've also really enjoyed the fundraising, creating and providing baskets for fundraisers for Got Kids throughout the year last year, and I will be continuing that again this year. We're making sure that we have a lot of visibility about our membership. We represent speech language pathologists, school psychologists, school nurses, school counselors, and the program specialists. It's very important that people know what we do and why it's so important, that we're not just speech teachers or that person in the closet that sometimes we see. Our website is up and running. It's on Wix. I'd like to be able to give it to you if you'd like. Come check us out. There's information there about retirement, about the activities we do. All of our resources and materials are there as well, and that's something that I monitor for our group. I'm also proud to announce that we have our scholarship last year. We presented 4 $1,000 scholarships to students who are interested in any of the fields that we work in, at those 5 fields that I mentioned previously. We've already gotten a great response from our student winners last year. We have, as far as I know, we have one who's at Chico State who has enrolled and begun, and Fresno State, one of the other students is there too. Still waiting to hear back on the other 2, but we'll keep you posted when we do. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm really glad to be here, and I'm glad that you guys are letting me learn the process.
Thank you. Liz, thank you very much. And could you get that website address to the superintendent and get that out to us, please, so we can take a look at that?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very nice job, thank you.
Good evening, Michelle.
Good evening. And happy National Red for Ed Day. We're wearing red today to support educators and students throughout the nation that are struggling in education. This year, it's hard to believe the quarter is coming to an end. Testing is already beginning to start, which is crazy. We are so excited to have lots of new LEA reps join us at our first rep council this year. And we are working on improving communications at each site between members and administration and CSCA. So we would continue to ask the district try to avoid scheduling meetings and PD on Mondays, and we know that's hard, that takes a big chunk, but maybe just looking at the calendar. We did round up some representatives to represent LEA at college and career night and have a table out there recruiting students to become teachers. And I understand it was highly successful and very well attended. We had one current teacher and a retiree that greeted our students, and Sue Kanatsu and Tammy Cease. So trying to be at two places at once is challenging. We do look forward to our ILC teachers are beginning their PDs. The first one is Rachel Flanagan, and she's presenting STEM and STEM night activities. We're hopeful to come to an agreement, an MOU between Stanford National Board and a facilitator, one of our own, Lori Solis, and we appreciate the support in getting her the day off and trained in that to have our teachers continue their professional development through getting National Board certified. We also have bargaining coming up on Friday, and we look forward to meeting at the table. And we hope to engage in lots of discussion on that. With communication going forward, we've had lots of questions about fingerprinting at sites and field trips and transportation. I did contact Mr. McGregor this week because he and I and Dr. Washer and I had talked about the transportation issue, and that is a stress, to say the least, right now on everyone to try to resolve that issue. However, if there is some way we can clearly communicate to classroom teachers as they're planning field trips, best times, worst times, some way they know ahead of time, because as they orchestrate funding and admission to certain places, sometimes those are non-refundable. So maybe we can really work closely together with transportation or send something out for site administrators to be having teachers check with them and transportation before anything's booked. If we could go district-wide with some kind of information out there, that would be helpful. We're hearing already some have been denied this year. So, and fingerprinting with parent volunteers. It was great to see some parents here to speak up. We do have some parent volunteers out there, and maybe just a refresher to send out publicly, and maybe that's, I didn't see our PR person, Lindsay. Maybe that's something to put out there about parents volunteering and going on field trips to make sure they get fingerprinted early. So thank you, and continue. I invite you all to wear red on Wednesdays. Thank you, Mr. Knexit.
Thank you, Michelle. On purpose, or was it?
Oh, yeah.
Was it an accident? Come on.
Red ending.
Kind of looks burgundy to me.
Sort of red.
Okay, comments from board members. Where can we start?
Dr. Washer, please thank everyone with College and Career Night. Me and a few other board members were there, and it was absolutely spectacular, very well attended by all the different organizations. First time ever, FBI was there. So, and they had a group, they had a line in front like you could not believe, and they looked just like FBI agents too. So, big surprise. But,
they needed those dark sunglasses.
what a fantastic event. Parents stopped me and told me the exact same thing, how much they enjoyed it. And like it was college and career truly, with a very strong mix of both. And also, it was, I remembered to talk about today because I read our district newsletter which in its new format was absolutely spectacular also. So please thank all the people involved in that, Dr. Washer.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will definitely echo what Mr. Freitas said about College and Career Night. It was, once again, a wonderful night. There were great participants, and the kids and parents were really engaged in it. I thought, well, I'll just kind of show up and walk around and see what's there. But there were so many people to talk to and things to see that I ended up closing up the joint. Which led me to this next one, is that as I was walking out, I saw probably custodial and M&O, I would assume, loading up tables and trailers to break down the event. So when you have an event like that, absolutely, it's great to have businesses and schools and everybody there, the students, the parents, and all that. But there are these people behind the scenes that were setting it up, spending all that time, and then of course you got to break it all down and clean up because the kids are going to be there at 7:15 in the morning. So yeah, it was a great night all around. I would like to echo what Michelle said about the transportation. I'm hearing a lot about that as I go to back to school nights or talking to just people in the community. Through athletics, that they're worried about it. Parents and teachers worried about field trips. So, I've got a couple ideas that I've been thinking about, and I'll let Mr. Khan know about, and see how that works with stand-in drivers. Some people may have the licensing we're looking for, and that would be firefighters. And there are a lot in the county, and so I just kind of want to talk to you about that a little bit more. So anyway, the transportation is something we really need to try to somehow get a handle on it. And I do see the bus sitting out by Costco and, out by Panera advertising, trying to get bus drivers. But it makes it really difficult to give the kids those experiences of a study trip, field trip, when they can't go. So, we'll try to hopefully get something settled on that. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach.
Yeah, the college and career planning night was in a great place. I went last year also at the fairgrounds, and that was, it was nice, but this was great. It seemed much more professionally done. Like the FBI being in their uniforms, the police being in their uniforms, it was bright and you could see it. So it was really well done. I don't really have much more to add to that other than
air conditioning.
Yeah, and it was air conditioning. They had a speaker before, in one of the other gyms, and I felt bad for some of those parents because they were talking about how the expense of going to college, but they give a lot of good hints on how maybe they could defray that cost. But that was good information that I don't know that they got at the last career and college and career night. It was really well done.
Thank you, Mr. Knaxet.
I am looking forward to Mr. Neely mentioned the meeting a week from today at Lincoln Tech before the RBET meeting, where the subcommittee to update the district goals and mission statement will be meeting for the first time, and I'm very happy to be a part of that committee, and I look forward to that. And then Jafari, I wanted to ask you a question, but also tell you thank you for all your information about Bear Creek and for promoting all of their programs. I think that's wonderful. So the question is, were you part of the homecoming court?
Yes, I was. But I am part of the homecoming court. The homecoming king and queen will be decided during the homecoming game during halftime on Friday.
You have the board's best wishes on that one.
I thank you all for that. I think it was good.
Royalty.
Yes, I'm not advertising, but I'm gonna let you know that CPR is very important, and there are some teachers and students and whatever it is that need to get the CPR. It's very helpful. There's one date, September 15th, that is provided by the San Joaquin County Office of Emergency Services. 2 locations. One is at Lockford Grange Hall. It starts at 9 and 10 a.m. 2 times. And the other one is at Woodbridge Fire Station. That's also at 9 and 10. And if you have any information that you want to gather, call the San Joaquin Emergency Services, County Office of Emergency Services. They have a telephone number and they'll give you all the information. I thought that Mr. Freitas would cover this, but we had a real pleasant visit to Houston School. We got a one-on-one lesson by Warren's son at Houston, and we went all through the areas that are going to be able to renovate and move portables and change the parking area and all the kinds of things that will be going on from now on till Serna and Houston are combined at that particular site. It was very informational, and I want to thank Warren son for all that time that he spent with us. On the other note, we happened to have a little bit of time, and we went over to Mosier Elementary School to see the principal and talk to her for a little while in regards to how things are going there. We have some little minor problems, but they're going to be resolved. And that's it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Nava. I received an email from a group that wanted to meet and talk to me about charter schools a couple weeks ago. And so I made the appointment and went out and I talked to these folks. Interesting situation. The reason I'm bringing this up is because charter schools can take money from our district. The ADA goes to them and says, well, okay, but they're taking students, so. But the problem is that if 100 of our students leave, it doesn't reduce our fixed cost or semi-fixed cost any at all. But for every 100 students that leaves, we lose about $1 million. And our costs remain absolutely the same. This particular charter school was talking about being a K-12, one location, with about 2,000 students. Now, that they wouldn't all be, they're trying to point out that they wouldn't all be from Lodi, they wouldn't all be Lodi students. They'll be drawing from Stockton schools, Lincoln schools, and all over. But it would draw a significant number of students from Stockton schools. Their idea of the charter school, their concept was, they had several things in it. First of all, it's going to be an all-digital school. All students would have laptops. There would be no books. Curriculum would be delivered 100% through the laptops online. Something we talked about, I've been talking about now for a number of years. Every grade will have music in the classroom. Every grade will learn music. That's also been proven to be a very beneficial program for students. It's been proven time and time again that students who study music do better in school. For their 9-12, they were also going to include a partnership with a California State University to offer classes through their program, much like we do out at Middle College, but it would be right there. There were several other things that came about. They weren't going to have a football team. They were going to be more into something like lacrosse. So it's going to be an alternative school, kind of. Not in our sense that we talk about alternative, but an alternative to the traditional type of school. There's only, the problem is too, and I want to make this clear, is that charter schools don't ever seem to have the same pull for special education students. About 10% of our budget, general funds, is infringed upon by special ed. We call it infringement because it goes, it's not just money we give for special ed. About $40 million a year comes out of our general fund to supplement the money that we give for special ed. Charter schools seem to get around that. And the way that they do it many times is simply to say that they don't have the facilities for the special ed student. So they can concentrate on some of these things and continue to pull other students. The only way that we will be able to compete on that playing field with the charter school is to make them unnecessary by providing those services and those things here at Lodi Unified. Which means we have to step up our game a little bit. This year we had the chance to have every high school student take a computer home with them, take a Chromebook home. But we left it up to our high schools, their decision, and none of them, except for Middle College High, opted in. We need to understand that we've got to get away from the old thing in public education of taking too long to make decisions. Because there are groups out there that will move quickly to fill the void if we don't. So, I would urge everybody that there is a sense of urgency with continuing to improve and innovate. Innovation has a priority here at Lodi Unified, and it's got to. Okay? That's all I've got. Superintendent.
No further comments, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have one additional thing.
Yes, sir.
And that's Dancing on Dynamite.
Oh.
This Saturday night for Got Kids fundraiser. $35 tickets. Tickets are available online. And the money is well spent on our kids in Lodi schools. So please don't forget. Buy many tickets and buy it all. Buy it all.
I'll tell you what, I'll buy a couple of tickets, but I won't be able to be there. I've got a long-standing annual family thing that night, so. But I'll buy a couple of tickets.
I'll buy a ticket, but I'm not gonna dance.
You can't dance.
I can't dance.
All right. Reports. The first one we've got up is Discovery Streaming Plus. I know Dr. Washer's on the blame line, but I'm going to do a little introduction here. Martha Snyder's going to present this for us. I've talked to Martha about this before, and she is our Discovery guru here, and always does a fantastic job. I use this Discovery video, Discovery streaming, when I was teaching at an all-digital school. And I tell you what, guys, it's fantastic. There are not just a number of videos on there, but lesson plans and everything else that's on there. Right now, you're going to talk about the free trial period, Martha?
Yes, I will, Mr. Newton.
Okay, I'm going to let you do that. And I'll just be quiet and let Martha go on. I'll talk after. Dr. Walsh, anything you want to add?
No, let's let Mark go.
Go.
Good evening, Mr. Neely, members of the board, Dr. Washer, and Mr. Khan. I welcome and totally appreciate the opportunity to present tonight to you, Discovery Education and what it can do for Lodi Unified. In the room tonight is this lovely lady, Robin Grossman. She and I have been friends from back in Murata days, and she was one of several teachers that was in the DEN Ambassador program last spring. And they're actually a little bit more responsible for this presentation tonight because they put the groundwork together and led to the conversation that I had with Mr. Neely. So right now in our school district, we have 3 subscribing schools for Discovery Education. And for the next 60 days, I hope that the Den ambassadors and myself can show Lodi Unified why we think it's worthwhile for every student in Lodi Unified School District to have Discovery Education. It's a K-12 program. It's actually a K-16 program because staff members as much as our students get something out of Discovery Education. So at K-3, student, and that's one thing I have to make sure that you understand, it's not just a video service, it's a complete digital media service. So what I'm going to show you right now in terms of a video is actually created by the little students on the screen. So these, in fact, I think there's actually a grandkid from one of our board members up there on the screen. So.
Yeah, there is.
What you're actually seeing here that as it plays is that it's a virtual reality of the student actually did something with the drawing the picture in the photo, and then because it's with the Quiver app that teachers learned about through Discovery Education, the student was able to then take what they were learning in the classroom and make an end product. Let's go back. There we go. The one thing that educators will tell you about Discovery Education is that it's very versatile. It's something for everyone in every subject area. And so some of the things that you see and we'll see throughout this presentation is that there's something called Spotlight on Strategies. And it's about taking the digital media resources and then tooling them with things that we already know how to do. Like one of the things that I've recently used in my classroom was jigsawing, which has been around forever, but it's retooling it and putting it into a different way. And besides that, like last spring, as I introduced Spotlight Strategies to a new group of Den ambassadors, Robin being one, snowball fight, and actually taking what they had learned and they tossed it around the room like snowballs, and it was like, okay, there's a number of Spotlight Strategies, but everybody came back to the next session and everybody had done snowball fight. Because it's something that the kids get engaged in and they're up and they're moving around the classroom. It's not just the same old thing. And the one thing that the educators are getting each and every step along the way is they're also getting professional development, not just in the same way, but they're getting ideas from other educators throughout our district and also across the country and around the world through Discovery Education resources. And the highlight up there on the board is our K-3 Den ambassadors that are ready to actually look at the preview that we're going to talk about a little bit more and help educators that don't know a lot right now become more familiar with Discovery Education. We also had a group of 4 through 6 educators, and they too will say the same thing that I'm going to say over and over and over again, is that it's about what teachers get from Discovery Education and how they're able to easily use it in their classrooms with their students. And the students, in turn, because each and every student in our district, starting tomorrow morning, will have access to Discovery Education themselves. So it helps to actually extend the learning day. And I think Robin might be able to talk about it in a little while, is what will that look like if it had to go away again? Because there's only 3 schools in our district subscribing right now, we've stretched the license of those 3 schools to the max. And we really went out there to bring more educators into the fold. But when they're not at a subscribing school, their students and themselves lose access to those resources. At one point, we actually had 8 schools in our district, including Lodi High School and McNair High Schools and Murata Middle that were subscribing, and we had 4 or 5 elementary schools that subscribed as well. And when our economy went bad, away went Discovery Education, because each and every school was paying for that subscription service themselves. And again, at 4.6, the strategy that you actually see in the picture is called Tweet Tweet, where you take pieces of paper. So it's like getting students ready for Bear Creek that uses Twitter all the time, but you got to teach them how to do it in a safe environment first. And that's one thing that Discovery Education does emphasize, is safety for all students K through 12 in the strategies that we use in the classroom, and then how students actually interact out on the internet. And again, we have teachers in grades 4 through 6 that are ready and able to do the train the trainer model and have it be sustainable for our district. At 712, the story doesn't change. The teachers have all the ways that they love to use Discovery Education, and we also have why it's important in the classroom for students. For example, one of the 2 educators at Tokay High School, Cindy Carter and Janet Long, they've done every Dan Ambassador program that I've offered, and they're looking for the next level of being the leadership person to where they can actually offer right there at Tokay a Dan Ambassador program, so that 96 teachers could be involved in the program. Not, oh, why didn't Martha offer that particular class? So what is that preview going to be for the next 60 days? Discovery Education is, I found out tonight as I was taking a little peek while we were going through the rest of the agenda, is initially they said that they were going to give us STEM Connect, Streaming Plus, which is the base subscription, and they were going to let us take a look at the science tech book. But when I actually went and logged in, it looks like we're going to have everything Discovery Education has to offer for 60 days. And in that time, what Mr. Neely and I talked about is at the end to do a brief survey with the staff to see what they saw that they liked and whether or not it's a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So I'd like to take this opportunity to give you a little bit of a look. But as I do that, would you please ask me some questions, because I don't want to get all the way through and then, hey, you've got questions.
Martha, I have a question. How much does this cost?
I'm glad you asked that, Mr. Nava. Mr. Neely and I, we kind of looked at it because Mr. Neely had that same kind of question, because it looks like for 54 schools that the structure like at a high school costs a lot more money, but it really is based for Streaming Plus, the base subscription, it's by grade level and school site. So at a high school, it runs about $1.50 per student. And at a smaller K-8 school site, it might be as much as maybe $3.75. Ms. Reilly, I forgot those numbers.
Continuation high school at $7 or something. So there's something wrong there.
Yeah, but it actually, if we went with a service like a science tech book, then the whole financing, whole package structure is different. But I'm sure that I can help you get more answers to that.
Is that a monthly subscription?
No, annual.
Annual subscription, $7.
It basically works out to that per student for a year.
Perfect.
So when it's, we're talking about for 1 year for our district, I think it was about $150,000.
But I do believe that that could be little negotiations with that to come up with a much
Yeah.
better price.
And there's also the thing is if you did a subscription for multiple years, it reduces the cost per year. I know from Krista McCullough, when they initially subscribed, they did it for 4 years, and that reduced their costs substantially. And once you actually get in with Discovery Education, they're not likely to raise the price of what you're paying. For example, at Krista, we're still paying the same price as when we initially started with them 12 years ago. So they've got a good track record of not saying, oh, well, now you gotta pay more, now you gotta pay more.
I have a question. Martha.
Yes.
So, you're saying the students have access to this. Is each student have an account? So let's say I'm looking at, I saw social studies up there, and I'm looking at a component of social studies as it relates to science, let's say discoveries or whatever. And I'm kind of in this article, and I'm kind of going through back and forth, and then I get out of it. Does it kind of save where I am so it knows where I left off, or how does all that work?
There is that feature. I am going to show you what it looks like from the student side. It's also possible for each and every educator to have their students rostered to them. Susan Martin and her crew are working on, like I just went to the Clever portal. So in the Clever portal, it's there's a actual little bubble for Discovery Education. Like back to where it was. And there it is. It moved around in the difference of the projection. But when you click on Discovery Education, it's not quite there yet. But it might be if they got it. So right now when I clicked on it, it went to my login for Discovery Education. So what they're looking at is how many ever students we got. It's over 29,000, I know that. Is going to have a single sign-on to Discovery Education. We're not quite there yet. So in the actual preview time, what went out in email today, thank you very much, Ms. Katowski, is it's general sign-on, because I didn't want to have us come tonight and say, it's not quite ready yet. So the nice lady, Helena Graham, that Mr. Neely and I have been talking with, she actually gave us a generic that we can get, and I know that I have a question to respond to for one of the teacher users that says, hey, can we go in and change our username and password? That's just a temporary situation until the school actually has their total rosters done, which would not necessarily happen in full until we made a decision to move forward. So does that?
Sure, thank you.
So in Discovery Education, I'm going to go over to my screen that I have up. This one is what I see when I log in as a teacher. The reason I want to make sure that I show you this page is because as a teacher, I'm pretty much a one-click if I'm not a geeky person. And my buddy, Miss Robin over here, can speak to when she first came to Den Ambassadors. She was kind of nervous, but she learned a lot in just a few short weeks. But I can scroll down and get some quick things, and even if I'm old to Discovery Education, I can find out what new content's just recently been added. But up at the top, the thing that's really important is I can browse by topic. What am I looking for? I also love the fact that Constitution Day is right there because it's September 17th, it's coming up. But then the other thing I can do as an educator is I can browse by content K-12. So anything I want to go find, I can find it by browsing by content standard, and I think that that's really a huge plus. And I can do that for anything that Discovery Education offers. My school, for 12 years, it's had the basic Streaming Plus subscription, and I get plenty of content, and so do the other teachers at my site. Mr. Neely asked me to bring up something science. biology, I think the man said. And I brought up biospheres, but I brought it up with this intent, is I can have just the word biospheres and I can have any kind of content that I want, but I also can do it by grade level, and then if I wanted to limit it, and again, see how I'm just like jumping right past all those videos? Because it's not just about the videos. There are actually interactives that I can do in a lesson and I can get to right away, and then other lesson materials. So then,
When you say other lesson materials, there are lesson plans.
yeah,
already built
audios
there.
and tons of things. So, yeah, and I also can go, does it have relevant content that's within the last year? I can search that way. I can search by language, Spanish, French, and but it has a host of other languages, materials as well if I go in and I do the advanced search. And it just like goes on and on and on. There's so much. I can't possibly even use everything that Discovery Education offers. There's just a tremendous amount of resources. But if you want to just get the basics, click on the grade level, and then it will see like it will, when I click on that, hey, that interactive wasn't really for that grade level, but I almost think that if I went back, it would come up on for 912 for science, because I think it's more that way. Speaking of 912, the thing I like is the science textbook and looks initially like it's only for K-8, but they actually have chemistry, physics, and physical science within the repertoire of their science textbook that we're going to get a chance to take a look at. And then in STEM Connect, one of the things that they wanted is to make sure that we took a look at, and I think it's important because we do have, I think, 2 STEM qualified teachers. One is at Krista McCullough, Miss McCoy, is that there is an actual program and content area that specifically speaks to STEM that we're going to be able to take a look at. And then this place over here, I can't say enough, because when you even have a base subscription to Discovery Education, you have full access to everything in their professional learning center, and complete with interactives. And one of the things that is the biggest thing that I know that teachers use in our district is the Spotlight strategies. And like I said before, it's things that we've used. Like my mentor's sitting over there on our board tonight, Miss Castle. When I first started teaching, and I won't say how many years ago, Miss Castle, but those strategies that worked then still work now. And what we do is we take digital media content and we put it with them. So we might show the kids a short video clip, but the next thing that we actually do is we get them up moving around and interacting with one another. One of the things I like doing in my classroom as well is it's called tabletop texting, and you can do it with an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, you can do it with a piece of butcher paper, you can do it with 11 by 17 piece of paper. But the kid is writing about content that they just learned in a video clip, and then they can't talk, they have to text and pass the paper to the next kid. It's almost kind of like a piece of paper telegraph. And over here, the one thing I always look at with Lodi Unified is we talk about building a professional learning community. We are only as good as the number of professionals we have in our district, the number of staff members that we've got. I think we're a little bit over the 3,000 mark. There are other people waiting for each and every staff member in this district to connect with, to bring more ideas to the party and have us share out our ideas with the other people that are out there in the world. So, for example, Robin and I are part of the Den Ambassador group, but there's one for the tech book, there's one that's just Den Friends that you can connect with. But you can reach out and do searches to find somebody that might have something that you're looking for that maybe you haven't found at your school site or within our district to get help with. And here's the best possible thing, if there wasn't enough that I could say, is Discovery Education, when we subscribe, it's available to each and every student and their family 24/7, 365 days a year. And that means that not only does the learning extend from our classroom, but it allows each student and their family to go out and go beyond what they might have an interest, they might have a passion out there that they want to go and explore, and Discovery Education gives them that opportunity. So with that said, the last thing I have to share with you tonight is what does it look like to be a student? So it's saying no assignments yet because I didn't enjoy Mrs. Snyder's classroom. But I, as a student, this is what I see. So I can already start to go out and explore on my own. So not only is every educator in our district, every staff member in our district having 60 days of access to Discovery Education, every student has access to everything that you see on the screen right now. And I would entertain any other questions that you might have, and I went really fast, but maybe I went too slow, I don't know. And again, I thank you for letting me present this.
Please.
Martha, thank you so much. So everyone is it my understanding that all classrooms will have access for the next 60 days?
Yes.
Yes. And what would be your vision then? I mean, and people have been notified. I mean, all the classrooms are notified, and
Ms. Katowski sent out an email today, and I'll just flip over to this little button over here for a second. It's looking a little different on my screen, and I have to give kudos to DJ because he hooked me up so I could do it this way rather than figure out all the cyber things in the room and make sure that everything kind of worked. So every employee in the district, to the best of my knowledge, Ms. Katowski could correct me if I'm wrong on this, got this in terms of a flyer. So for every teacher, this is a generic login because we weren't sure about the state, and we're still not really sure about the Clever portal. They can put in this generic login. Everybody can be logged into the same thing at the same time, but that's not ideal. So as soon as I know from Jordan and Susan in technology that really we can log in with our regular LodiUSD.org accounts, then we'll be able to do that in the same time period. It'll be all hooked up. But this will get us started. So it's CA, SCI teacher, and the password of discovery. Our students can do that as well. Our teachers can share that out with our students. And those schools that already subscribe, such as Krista, Westwood, and Park Lane, they will see everything for the next 60 days. If we decide, one, the district isn't ready to move forward and give it to everybody for a cost, Krista, Park Lane, and Westwood will go back to what they had before, which is Streaming Plus. My school pays for it with PTSA. PTSA could do something else with the money that we pay for Discovery Education. And likewise, Westwood and Park Lane could do something else with their site funds if the district decided to move forward. But to me, and I would yield to Ms. Grossman over here, what does that mean if we give it to all our kids in all our classrooms? So hopefully that answered your question, Ms. Kennedy.
Yes, thank you.
Other questions? All right, I've actually got Martha's hooked me up with a username and password on this.
I have two.
Oh, yeah, you can get on there and check it?
Yeah, I did.
It's fascinating.
It is fascinating.
And one of the things, I know you went over the videos pretty quick because most people know about the videos, so you didn't want to concentrate on that, but I gotta tell you, those videos, if you're all familiar with the concept of a flipped classroom, where you give, the kids have homework for the next day. And so they preview videos and they come to class prepared to talk about what the teacher's going to talk about then, rather than the old way of introducing it in class and having to go home and do homework on it by themselves. Concept being is that the more work they do in class, the more advanced work in class, they've got a teacher there to help them out if they have problems. That makes sense. These videos cover everything. I used to put them on my website as a teacher so that the kids could go back and look at it. If they missed a class, they could go back and they could watch the videos. This is an incredible tool. And I tell you what, Martha's done a great job on pushing this out to the district, and she pushes and pushes, and you know what? I think it's going to work. We spend a lot of money on technology here in this district. To not use it would be a shame. Now, the more that we can employ things like this, the more that we're going to engage students. And that's what it's all about, is engaging students. And this is about extending that learning day, just like Martha was talking about. I mean, let's face it, we've talked about high school kids and needing more sleep and coming to school, not being too prepared for those early morning classes. Well, they can go back and look at things again on this, and parents can look at it. So it's a great tool. We've got it for 2 months. Open up to everybody. The tough thing is going to be to get people to take a look at it.
Mr. Neely, could Ms. Grossman talk for just like 1 minute, maybe 2? I think she has a valuable point to be made, because she's a resource teacher that knows what it means to special needs students to have access to discovery education.
Thank you. I'm here, this is the very first board meeting I've ever been to.
Use the mic.
I've been
It's being
here.
recorded.
I'm so vocal, I don't think I need that, but I've been a teacher here since 1994. This is the very first board meeting. It's very interesting. Love it. And I'm so glad that I'm here to support Martha and Discovery Education. I am passionate about this because I'm a resource specialist, and last year I taught, sorry, the weather's no other resource specialist here, but I taught a Math 180 class, and I also taught a Read 180 class as well, and most RSP teachers don't do that. And I love this. It was amazing. It's not only for science, but for social studies, it's for math, it's for English, it's everything. It's just everything. And my kids I had special ed kids in that class as well as regular ed kids in that class. It was a 5th, 6th class. And my kids were so juiced. Every time I would bring up, let's do an SOS. Yes, let's do an SOS. They couldn't wait. They couldn't wait to do it. There's 125 different SOS strategies that all teachers have access to. So it's never boring. And my kids were so excited about it. And my kids that were the RSP kids that really couldn't write, or maybe couldn't really do the math, or maybe really struggled with that, everybody was together all at once. And they all they engaged with each other, and they were so engaged with the teacher, and they were 100% on. How many educators can say in a class period that their students are 100% engaged? This is 100% engagement. It's so amazing. And I really would love for all of you to come in sometime and to watch. I'm doing it, but my class is a little bit different this year because I'm not teaching that Read 180 or Math 180. But I would love for any one of you to come in and watch any one of us have these engagement with these kids, so you can see for yourself how excited they are. They're excited about education. And when Mr. Neely, you brought up about how these charter schools, how we need to be on it and how we need to be above them, we can be above them with Discovery Education, because it's all engaged, and the kids can have access to that. The teachers have access. My teachers that I have worked with on occasion, when I first came out of this class, they were so excited. They're like, how can we do this? And I've gone to my principal, and he's going to let me have an opportunity to talk to the staff. So I'm very excited about this. And I think y'all too should be as well. And like I said, please come and look. Set up a time that you can come and watch us, come and watch the kids, and you will be hooked as well. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Any questions, comments from the public? Ladies, thank you so much for your presentation. It's going to take the next 2 months. We've got to push this thing out there so that people can check it out.
For sure. Any one of you can join the Den Ambassador program this fall.
Yes.
And thank you again.
I would suggest kind of reminding everybody, you know, you said that Ms. Katowski sent out an email. You know, just maybe do that a couple more times, if not more.
I definitely will, Mr. Everly. With that wonderful help of Dr. Washer and Ms. Katowski, I will do that.
All right, fantastic.
Thank you, Martha.
Okay, our last item, report item. 2018-19 one-time money allocation and possible expenditures. Mr. Khan.
Thank you, President Neely, members of the board, Dr. Washer. Before you is just a wish list. The board may recall about this time last year we brought a one-time money list to you, and then late October actually allocated the money. The list looks more complicated and more crowded, but in essence it's really two things. It's facilities, safety and security requests, and then down below curriculum and instruction requests. I'd be happy to discuss any of the items in the facilities and safety and security area, and Ms. Katowski is also here to discuss any items in the curriculum and instruction.
Mr. President, members of the board, as I'm sure you noticed right away, the list is much greater than what we have in allocation of one-time money. As Mr. Khan has shared with you previously, we anticipated about double, if not more, than what we are receiving. Even that wouldn't meet the needs, but with the reduction in what we have, there are many more needs than what we have, funds we have available. So there will be some need to prioritize at some point.
And also I would note the Houston site mod line item that is at least a projected cost at this point. We don't have an architect design back, but that 2.5 million is the current estimate for the movement of the portables and readying the site for the two programs to share.
I noticed the Lodi High School pool is pretty blank.
Question mark. Question mark. Just for a dead reckoning in the facilities master plan, the pool is reckoned to be about $7.25, $7.5 million.
What? Sorry, say that again.
It's expensive.
You're right, 7.25 to 7.5. That's in the facilities master plan.
Yeah.
I thought they were like 3.5.
That's what I thought too.
The last pool I built was about 3.5,
Yeah.
3.6, but it was bare bones. It's a good competition pool, but there's no locker room. It's just a pool. 4 lights and a Colorado timing board.
Well, that kind of go along with the gym at Lodi High School. You're both.
Are you looking for comments?
Just looking for your reaction.
It's a report item, so.
It is a report
please,
item.
comments.
It
Are you
will
done with
come
the
back.
report?
Yes, sir.
Comments from the board?
He kind of paused, that's why I thought I'd jump in. Well, okay, so you have 9 million, well, 9.5 basically here. What is the number?
Well, after post time, so to speak, for the board item, we have been advised that the number around 5 million is correct, less approximately 390 in the mob penalty. That's 4.6, but we've also set aside about 360 in district budget to pay the mob. So we're back up to around half, about 500 million, 4.95 million.
I like the 500 million, but it means 5 million. Okay. So, just from my viewpoint, is, I mean, I'm all about the safety and security. That's beyond question. And we've been spending in the last 3 years around $2 million for fencing and all that kind of stuff, access points. The only suggestion I would offer is that, well, I actually have two. Curriculum and instruction. So I keep thinking that, you know, when you have goals, district goals for the year, your money should follow that. And two of the things that I can think of right off the top is our computer pathways. And, you know, that kind of thing could cost a lot of money. So I'm a little concerned about that, is that if we're going to do that, I don't want to get down to the end of the line and say, okay, yeah, we're ready to put this in the catalog. Well, we don't really have any money. So I think curriculum is a real important thing. And the other thing with curriculum is we've got NGSS coming down the pike, and I haven't heard of what the plan is fully for that for elementary and what the cost is going to be for that. I've heard kind of some, but it's been a long time since we've had a report on that. And, you know, that could be real pricey too. So those two things are examples of where I think more money needs to be earmarked for curriculum and instruction, because a lot of those kinds of things are going to take staff development too. So,
Mr. Headley, on the, keep going a little bit more, there you go. I know it's small. The piece in there about professional development, it did not get clarified because of space, but that does include the goals of STEM at elementary school, the reading, the literacy for primary grades. It's also a goal related to reading by 3rd grade. So that piece of professional development, that's what that encompasses, even though it's not spelled out there.
oh, correct, yeah. I was kind of wondering what the K-3 Tier 2 supports was, but when I saw the K-3, I figured it was the reading that is one of our goals.
Yes, catching kids early and providing.
Exactly. Now, I think that's great. I'm saying keep that, that's fine. But I'm looking at, even though it does say STEM materials 150,000, well, sure. But if we're talking about computers and we're talking about NGS equipment, hardware, because NGSS wants kids to do project-based learning. Well, project doing what? They have to have something in their hand, and those things are a lot of times very expensive up front, and then of course you have consumables that you maintain year after year after year. I mean, Lisa and I have talked about that, and I think it's not like a big surprise to anybody that stuff's doggone expensive to start. So that's my only input, is that consideration, not only professional development, but the hardware to make the computer goal realized, NGS adoption, and STEM in elementary.
Other comments?
I have a
Please.
Mr. Khan, with the Houston Cerna project, so that's like 2,600,000 or so. Where else will we? I mean, if it doesn't come from here, how would we afford that?
Possibly Fund 40, but we're Fund 40 sort of operates almost as our deferred maintenance fund, and we're getting awfully thin in that area as well.
And then I see that almost all, well, not quite all schools, but a great many of the schools under security cameras, which was brought up by the Lockford folks today, are those, obviously they are effective at I mean, where we have that history where obviously we wouldn't be funding them and putting them up. what kind of priority do security cameras have since so many of the schools are in need of them?
I think it's, should be one of the focal points of our security infrastructure. I think our consultant, former Chief Adams, would agree with that statement. Also, Nick Schlater, our Director of Safety and Security in M&O. I think one of the telling things about cameras is after the Parkland shooting last year, we were contacted by various media agencies, and I suppose they were canvassing that area to determine how various districts were set up. Lodi Unified had spent a lot of time installing cameras in a security framework, and we were heads and tails above even the closest district to us by well over 100 cameras, and we weren't even the largest district that made it in the media report. And I think that played very well with the community as well.
Thank you.
I thought a lot of this access control, security cameras, things like that was taken care of by Measure U.
Not all. For instance, Lockford, we heard about the need for Lockford cameras this evening. Lockford's Measure U budget is primarily the parking lot and the playground area. So some of the school district or schools in Measure U did focus on security cameras, but by and large,
Nothing here is been slated for Measure U funds.
well, if you look through, you'll see the column Jive. That's the voice over IP plus the PA plus the intercom system, where you see a blank. Those are Measure U projects.
That's not many.
Now, okay. I've got nothing else to say. Anybody got anything?
Like you said, this is food for thought at this point, but we'll bring it back.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. All right, thank you, Mr. Khan. Oh, yes, ma'am, thank you. How are you doing tonight, Deborah?
I'm just doing great.
Fantastic.
I just had a couple of questions.
Please.
About this report. Deborah Ladwig, President of the California School Employees Association chapter here in Lodi. Could we scroll back up to the top so I can see the headers? Sorry. So the first two, one says access control new, the other one says access control replacement. And I was under the impression that our access control equipment was fairly new. So I was surprised to see such a large expenditure for replacement already. Although I've been told that here in this building, our equipment that we have for our badges, we're having a new vendor, and the new vendor doesn't like the equipment that we have now. So is that why we're looking at having to replace all these things, because we have a new vendor?
Good question. Sure, please.
That's correct. The old vendor, I believe technology is about 7 years old, if I'm not mistaken. Was based on a technology called RFID. And when it was originally installed some 7 years ago, I'm not sure the market had truly determined whether the current kind of magnetic door access system or the RFID technology would win the day at some point. This seemed to make sense for staff at the time, but since that time, the race has been won, and the magnetic door access systems are clearly the industry standard for security. So we have 2 years to run on this current contract with the old RFID technology. And then those doors will, in essence, go dead.
So it sounds to me, and I don't know anything, but just listening to this, it sounds to me like our access control system is very similar to our technology, like on a general basis where we have a replacement schedule. We're running on a 5-year, replacement schedule. So do you anticipate that with our access control, or, I mean, all of these things, the security cameras, the security NVR, are these things that we should really be looking at as ongoing costs that we really should have some type of a replacement schedule that's timely? Or is it something that we should just hope that we can replace when it's time later?
I think the answer is clearly yes, and all hardware will eventually wear out. I don't think it would be as short a timeline as, say, a Chromebook in terms of the hardware replacement. But every single one of these items carries an annual service fee as well. In other words, even the door access, the system that we're using right now requires us to pay an annual fee to the provider so that our door access system will actually work on a network.
Okay, so I guess I'm surprised then to see this great cost as a one-time cost, thinking that if it's annual and then routine restricted maintenance, something that's routine, not that it can come out of that fund because I don't understand all the funds, but if it's something that's routine, it just seems like it's a huge amount of money for something that we already have. Unless we really do need to replace it all the time, then shouldn't we be making plans to be able to replace it every time it's needed? Or is this just a one-time, I mean, is this truly just a one-time thing, we need to fix this up now, and then we can say it'll be at least 10 years or more before we need to do it again?
I think for all these things, that'd be pretty fair. For instance, the Jive system with the telephone, I'm not sure how long a telephone lasts, but I'd be comfortable saying that 10 years would be a pretty comfortable replacement timeline. With the current door access hardware, it's, the district made the decision to change the technology. But I think as long as RFID software remained extant, it would probably work for a long period of time. The issue with the RFID is there's only one vendor in the world that we can find that can service the current footprint. So none of the annual costs are priced into this. These costs are all hardware changes.
Okay, so we make these changes now, but we still have to pay the RFID for 2 more years? Is that what because you said we're in a subscription or an annual cost for that for 2 more years?
That's correct, but we'll work to more add access control and then time the replacement of the doors where possible with the expiration of the one-stop contract.
So we'll run both for a period of time?
Maybe a very short period of time. We have, I believe 80 or 200 and some doors outstanding. We won't be able to change them all the day after the one-stop contract closes out.
Okay. And then in the creation of this list, of the entire list, you have some things from curriculum at the bottom and then mostly at the top here is the facilities. Were all of the departments or divisions, areas of the district consulted about what they might like to see on this list? Or how did the list come to be?
We focus mainly on safety and security.
list was generated through cabinet discussions, which oversees all departments.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Michelle?
I thank Deb for asking some of the same questions that we have. I think I missed what the security NVR was.
It's a network node that the camera connects to that allows the camera to feed onto our network.
So that's the one where if there's a crisis that a remote site could go in to see other cameras.
That's correct, but it's also the device that allows an administrator or an SRO at a site to view the cameras on the site as well.
Okay. Some concerns over the replacement costs, and holy moly, I have this vision of the carpet being pulled out from under us as the carpet was pulled out on the web. And the best laid plans, the vendor didn't like what we were doing. So our best laid plans, I assume everyone is thinking of what just happened with the loss of all of our stuff out there at school sites on the web. When the vendor, we weren't continuing our subscription. I think I hear that cabinet got input on this. I look at some of those categories, and are we evaluating the effectiveness of where we're adding more cameras, for example? The access panels, I think I'm saying correctly, the monitors that are at front desks to be viewed. We still have complaints that they haven't been moved so that staff can readily see that while they're working. It's behind them. So I think there are some things that maybe school sites, and I don't know, secretaries, there seems to be some gaps, and this seems to be a surprise as to this renewal. And if we're looking at spending this much money, I would think that we would go into some kind of renewal plan as we did a refresh plan with technology, and really thinking this out, because it's a lot, and we do want our schools safe and secure. And I don't have each individual school site's input as to what they're seeing and not seeing. Those are the things that I've just heard this year, concerns over some of the fencing going up, that they didn't consult all parties. And for example, we'll see we call them NARCs, the campus security would have done things differently. So I just, are we including all stakeholders where it's part of the regular assignment, where they would catch those areas of weakness or that could make the job easier? So, and I think we'll have more discussion coming further on this, as it's just a report item, so maybe some way to bring sites in.
Thank you, Michelle. Any other comments?
Is this going to come back as a report item again, or is this going to be a finished product?
Mr. Heavily, members of the board, it can come back as a report if you would like. Even if it is an action item, that doesn't mean that you have to approve anything. It can be discussed, and if you're not ready to take action at that point, it'll just come back again.
Okay. I'd like to see it come back as a report item.
We can do that easily.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Before we get out here, I got two more things I forgot to mention. Dr. Washer went on the website today looking at calendars, and noticed that the 2016-17 or 17-18 calendars were still on there. So I went to try to find the link where I could report it, that I asked to be put on there so that people can report problems to the website. Couldn't find it. So we need to get the input from our people on what the problems are with our website. So we're gonna have some way of getting that information. Second thing, board, do you remember we passed a resolution for AB 276, I think it was, for charter schools to have to abide by the Brown Act. That measure ran into some issues and has been sidelined. So I'm really, really disappointed in that. They're going to try to bring it back again under possibly a new government.
Their session's over now, pretty
Yeah.
much, isn't it? Yeah.
So,
You're kidding.
no,
Mr. Chairman?
I see no reason why they would do something like that, but, yes, sir.
I'd like Mr. Khan to thank his staff for that list. That was a very impressive list. That was very thorough and detailed, and I think presented a very good starting off point for us in our discussion. So please thank your staff for doing that, and Ms. Kukowski also.
Okay, any subcommittee reports? Seeing none.
I move we adjourn, sir.
Second. All in favor? Aye.